Good evening. My name is Marc Chytillo. I'm an environmental attorney that's been active in Santa Barbara County for the past 30 years. In December of last year, Southern California Edison began, without the benefit of permits or any kind of environmental review, widening and grading on Tunnel Trail, the extension of Tunnel Road, above the city's water tank, on land owned by the city of Santa Barbara, but subject to the county of Santa Barbara's jurisdiction. For about 10 days, SCE's employees used heavy equipment to widen the road by scaling cliffs that narrowed the road in various places and pushing the material out to widen the road. And because their work entailed over 6,000 cubic yards of material, they didn't have a plan for where that excess material would go. So their employees pushed that material off the edge of the road and down into Mission Canyon. In two places, that material reached the creek and actually blocked creek flows. After about 10 days, the Department of Fish and Game was brought to recognize the issue and issued a stop work order. And shortly thereafter, the County of Santa Barbara did as well. After initial investigation, notice of violation letters were issued by the Army Corps of Engineers, Regional Water Quality Control Board, the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, and the County of Santa Barbara. That stopped work, but not until over 6,000 yards of material had been moved and nearly 2 miles of tunnel road, tunnel trail, and the adjacent trails had been widened, causing significant adverse environmental impacts, both to water quality and creek habitat, as well as upland habitat, chaparral. They closed the trail and impacted recreational opportunities and have forever scarred the area, reducing the quality of recreational experiences there, causing visual impacts, as well as generating noise and dust. SCE took responsibility for this action and met with the Mission Canyon Association within the first month of this activity. The Mission Canyon Association Board of Directors asked SCE what happened and why. And while SCE has acknowledged that this was a result of a breakdown within their own communications processes that violated their own internal procedures and protocols for working on roads and in sensitive areas, they have stepped up and are undergoing, they've submitted to the jurisdiction of the county and the Department of Fish and Wildlife, and in working with the city, who owns most of the lands involved, have come up with a series of steps to respond to the significant environmental issues. Their project violated a series of state and federal and local environmental protections. The county zoning ordinance requires a permit for grading of this magnitude and environmental protection. The Fish and Wildlife Department administers the Fish and Game Code, which requires a streambed alteration agreement before anyone may modify a creek in this way. In addition, implements the California Endangered Species Act and other related statutes. The Regional Water Quality Control Board implements the Port of Cologne Water Act, and the grading activities without storm protection and erosion control strategies in place and tools caused a degradation of water quality. And the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, under the U.S. Clean Water Act, prohibits the discharge of materials into waters of the United States. So SCE has violated a large number of very significant environmental laws in undertaking this work without applying for permits, and avoided the application of the California Environmental Quality Act, which requires the analysis of environmental impacts before work is undertaken. Work was stopped. Notices of violations were issued by all 4 of these agencies, and SCE has submitted to the jurisdiction of the county to try and resolve these issues. Initially, the county was proposing to it issued an emergency permit and then was going to do a follow-up land use permit that was going to be the end of the story as far as the county was concerned. However, the Mission Canyon Association objected to this, and working with Supervisor Williams's offices, secured the county's commitment that they would undertake permitting and review of the entirety of the project in order to resolve their notice of violation and ensure that SCE was required to fully account for all of their impacts and to provide restoration and mitigation. The Department of Fish and Wildlife will assume lead agency status in the preparation of an environmental review document that has been initiated at this time and will probably take close to a year to go through the entire review process. That project that it will review includes first the removal of the side cast and removal of the material that went into the creek, as well as the preparation of restoration and habitat remediation plans for the entirety of SCE's work in this area. They'll also be required to get fish and game agreements for the stream bed alteration and potentially permits from the Regional Water Quality Control Board and the Army Corps of Engineers. Through these processes, we're hopeful that there will be a complete restoration of all project impacts and compensatory mitigation for the significant impacts that have been caused by this project, not only to habitat, but within the creek, as well as habitat in the upland areas, as well as loss of recreational opportunities and a degradation of the recreational experience, as well as the community visual impacts, noise, dust, and of course the totality of the effects to the entire canyon. This process will probably take in the order of the next year for processing before SCE can proceed with that portion of the work. However, in the meantime, there's currently an initial permit that was issued by the county for SCE to do the minimal necessary work in order to protect public health and safety. For this reason, SCE has closed the trail for approximately 6 weeks, and they will be testing the areas where they undermine the existing cliffs to remove any materials, any rocks and boulders that remain in an unstable condition right now. As well, they're going to install a rock netting or drapery over about 425 linear feet of the cliff immediately above the tunnel trail bridge. It's about a half the gate. That rock netting will be a permanent installation in order to protect the public from the increased risk of rockfall that resulted from SCE's unpermitted scaling of the cliffs in that area and undermining the stability of that cliff. So this is really a classic example of a utility under the initial guise of a routine maintenance activity, expanding the scope of that activity well beyond routine maintenance to expanding the scale and scope of the use in an area that's extremely ecologically sensitive, as well as being of enormous value to the community for its recreational amenities. It will be many years before Mission Canyon and the tunnel trail is restored to anything near this status and condition that it was before this unfortunate event happened. Fortunately, we've received assurances from SCE to the Mission Canyon Association that they're in for the long haul, that they intend to take no shortcuts and will fully account for all of the impacts that their actions have vested upon our community. And so for that, we're grateful. However, we have a long way to go as we move forward with this project.
Thank you for your participation in tonight's forum from the Santa Barbara Urban Creeks Council.